My next guest is a stone-cold winner who never settles for second place. She is the proud holder of 4 All-Ireland Camogie titles. This year has faced the toughest challenges of her life, and as someone who refuses to compromise, she's here tonight to tell us how the hell a proud Cork woman ends up marrying a dub and living in Kildare. Would you please welcome Geary? There you go. So much to talk about. Welcome to the show.
I heard some Up the Rebels a while ago. There
you go.
I'm very impressed with them.
They're up in there. Yeah. We've so much. We can talk about the book. We need to talk about the new Bubsy. We need to talk about how does a proud Cork woman end up married to a dirty dub. I mean, let's get that out of the way to start with.
He wouldn't agree with you now saying dirty dub. No. But you know what? We're living in Kildare now, so I have him on the road back to Cork, you know, slowly but surely.
Is he aware of this plan?
Well, he is now.
OK. All right, very good. And obviously, the host of Love in the Country finding love not in the country. I mean, what were you thinking?
Oh, yeah. Well, if anything, it proves that it is very difficult to find love in the country.
You see?
And I think, you know, now his mother as well is from Kilkenny, so there is a little bit of culty in him too. But I can still actually remember the very first time that I brought him home. And I remember my dad, he perched himself on the chair so that when Kev came in the door, you know, he could make eye contact straight away. And I said to him, you know, make sure now you give him a good handshake. You know, that's really important to my dad. So it was kind of, you know, this competition about who was going to release the handshake first. And my dad...
Meet the Falker stuff.
Yeah, it really was. And I remember my dad kind of saying to him, oh, you're a dub. Oh, yeah, yeah. And then he said, thinking, why would you have to leave Cork to go all the way up to find a fella in Dublin? But he was like, and I suppose you played the football. And because my dad is a big GA fan, but he was a huge hurling fan in particular. And then Kev said, oh, no, actually, it's hurling I play myself. Then my dad sat up a little bit straighter and, all right, OK. And he's like, what do you do yourself? And at the time, Kev worked for the GAA. So when he said that to him, straight away, my dad sat bolt upright. And he's like, right. And I knew exactly what was coming next. So does that mean you can get me tickets? And the minute he asked that question, of course, I said to Kev, say yes, say yes. And Kev said yes. It was like, Ellen, get a piece of apple crumble here in front of him. And that was it then. He was welcome for forevermore after that.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. You lost your dad a couple of years ago, 2022.
Yeah, 2 years ago, actually, this month.
Yeah, and he was the one who you got your competitive streak from. Yes. He spurred you on. He was right on your shoulder, sometimes whether you wanted him to or not. This was...
Yeah, like my dad is like extremely passionate about sport, and he was always so passionate and took an interest in everything I was doing, particularly with anything to do with sport. And I remember I was, as a child and a younger person, you were put into cross-country running in the height of winter, up and down the hills all over Cork and the country. And Dad really got involved to a point where I was running the race and Dad was on the other side of the tape running with me around the course. And I mean, a lot of people are saying that's gamesmanship. He was trying to psych out the other competitors. He really wasn't. He was just really trying to be there with me every step of the way. And I think they gently had to ask him, like, I think you're intimidating some of the other, you know, racers.
Yeah.
But I think what he was actually doing was putting pressure on some of the other parents. They were probably afraid that they'd have to start running as well with their kids too. But it just showed how involved he was. And he was always in my corner. Now, he was a bit of a, like, he was one of my biggest fans, but a secret fan. Like, he wouldn't be telling you too often how great you were.
Well, no, you see, you got to do that there just to push you on a wee bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he never let you win.
No, he never let me win. And I think that's probably where the competitive spirit and instinct came from. There was lots of games, like lots of hurling games in our back garden. And I remember we used to have a hit the drain pipe, much to my mother's disgust because there was a lot of cracked drain pipes. And there was also a lot of cracked windows. I quickly actually found out that my place in the Camogie team was to be a defender as opposed to a forward because I was off target. There was a lot of the times, a lot of the times that I broke that window. But yeah, it was just, I suppose for him, he was a child at heart and he was always trying to encourage us to be our best and to do our best.
But he had a bit of devilment in him as well, didn't he? And the twinkle in the eye, like that's the great story about your first co-commentary on the wireless, and you end up back at home the next day. Yeah,
my dad had a very unique way of keeping me grounded, and he was really like mischievous as well. So I remember back in 2010, it was the first time since I've been involved with the Cork setup that we hadn't been involved in the All-Ireland. And I got the honour of co-commentating on Radio 1 with Micheál Murhertig, who was like a legend and, you know, was a voice of GA for me even growing up at home. And, you know, the following week when I was chatting about how I got on with Micheál, and I just, you know, I was feeling pretty smug about myself, and my dad could see that. And I remember I was in the kitchen with him and he was reading the paper. You could only just see his eyes above the newspaper, and I was like, how did you think I did? And he's like, oh, you're all right. Back reading the paper. I was like, I need more. Like, I need the approval. I need you to tell me how great I was. And he could sense that. So, you know, he was like, okay, I need to reel her back in here. She's a bit to learn yet. So he turned around and said, did you hear about Micheál Murhertig? I was like, no. And he was like, yeah. He was like, he's just announced his retirement. Now, my immediate thought was, oh my God, I was one of the last people to co-commentate with Micheál Murhertig.
Amazing.
And he just looked me dead in the eye, again, just eye level over the newspaper, and said, imagine, that man has given decades to broadcasting, and 1 hour with you and he decides to call it a day. And that was his way. Like, that was his way, I suppose, of just saying, you know, well done, kid.
Yeah,
keep you grounded.
Keep your feet in the ground. Yeah. We mentioned the baby earlier on, baby Ronan. Yes. So, big question. Is he going to be supporting Dublin or Cork? Let's get that out of the way.
Yeah, there he is. There, like butter wouldn't melt.
Look at the cutie there. Look at the chops.
He's at home now at the moment. I hope he's asleep.
There he is.
Because the sleep deprivation is real.
With his spot book there.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, he's reading from early ages.
There you go.
But yeah, he's 7 months now, and he's already even developing his own little bit of a personality. And I think there'll be fights in the house as to what jersey that he's wearing. I remember even at home my family saying, you know, we're all about him playing sport. We're happy enough for him to play any sport once it's GAA. I was like, okay. But yeah, like it's brilliant. He said his first word this week.
Which was?
It wasn't mama. It wasn't mama, it was dada. Yeah. And when he did it, he was kind of babbling away to himself, and Kev sat bolt upright in the bed just about 5 o'clock in the morning. He heard it and said, you heard that too, didn't you? I was like, I heard nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. I heard nothing. And I was thinking, sure, he doesn't even know what he's saying anyway. And then this morning, I was just trying to test things. So I said, where's Dada? And he looks around. It was literally like he did a 360 spin. He said, okay, he might actually have said that deliberately. So now I plan for the next 2 weeks that everything I'll be like, Mama. Mama. Everything is going to be Mama. And I'm trying to rectify that as quickly as possible.
Or with the night feeds, well, there you go. He just called for you, Dada. Off you go.
Yeah. Say Mama if you want me to feed you. No, okay. Dada, you're up. Yeah, okay, that's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah. I know that your mum is much happier with the state of the house now that you've got a bit of chaos in it.
Yeah, like, you know, I think for a lot of people, especially when there's not children there, like, I love interiors and I love the house, and it was, you know, everything had its place. But then when Ronan
had past tense.
And then when Ronan came along, quickly realised nothing has a place anymore. Everything is just all over the place. So when she came in, I think she saw it, and she'd be like, you know what now? It looks much more lived in. And that was her way of saying, don't stress too much about it. You know, it's okay. But it's brilliant for her, I suppose, to be up with us and to get to know Ronan now. And, you know, he's kind of got his little idiosyncrasies that we're starting to understand. And they have a great bond as well. She loves reading storybooks to him too. So, yeah, it's brilliant to watch that. And I'm like, oh my God, you've got such a good bond. Would you mind him there for a few hours while I go somewhere? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like killer of kindness.
You'd be like Mama Mag there at the door.
Yeah. As I'm out the door. Here.
And out the door.
Bond.
Off you go. So he was born in August.
Yeah, in August, yeah.
And then a few months later, you're in the middle of all that joy, your life was completely turned upside down. You lost your brother, Thomas. And what was that like, trying to navigate the biggest joy in the world with the worst thing that can happen, that whole roller coaster of grief and happiness?
Yeah. And I'm still processing it, you know, because I think for anybody that loses somebody, like, you are just trying to get your head around it. And it doesn't matter how long somebody's gone, but when two people you love in the world go so quickly together, and then there's a baby in the middle of it. Like, Patrick, it's been the strangest 2 years of my life. It has been so difficult to pick myself up. But equally then as well, what grief has actually given me is perspective to lean into the good things too. So, you know, Ronan, you know, kept me getting up every morning, you know, and nappies had to be changed and he had to be fed and things had to be done. And I suppose really that was what was really important, is just find ways to keep moving forward every single day.
And it's that thing, isn't it, that, you know, sometimes when you just think, I can't do this. And then you're looking at somebody else who gives you the big smile, like he just did there in the picture. You're going, actually, no, Mama, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And that's what life's about, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is, and it's about finding ways. And when I wrote the book last year, and Dad was gone, and for me, it was about thinking about everything that I'd learned from life and everything that life had thrown at me, and what is it that I do to cope, and how do I cope?
Because I wanted to ask you about that, because this is the book and it is brilliant. This is Anna's game plan. So you started writing this and you were taking all the experience from the GA and all of these things and how to live your life in a different way. And then all of these things which were real life happened in the middle of this. So I'm assuming there are different messages now in this book based on what you've been through. Yeah,
the book for me was, like, it was a real passion project. It was probably swirling around in my head, I think, for a long time. And it just never really felt like the right time to write it. And then, you know, life throws up lots of different things. And I felt I have things that I'd like to share, things that I want to help people with. So whether that's, you know, the inner critic that we all face, or struggling with confidence, or feeling a little bit lost. You know, everybody experiences that in different ways. And you know, because we all have our stuff. It mightn't, you know, be grief. It could be something else.
Everybody's carrying something.
Yeah, and it's just finding ways then to navigate through life in the best way that you can. And that's what I want when people read this. That's what I hope that people will get out of it, is just finding new ways to feel good in yourself and to get through the days if you are going through something. And sometimes it's not the big stuff. Sometimes it's the small stuff. You know, like, we sweat the small stuff a lot as well.
I think it's always the small stuff.
Yeah, and it's all the accumulation of that, I think, as well. So.
And sometimes it's the small stuff which actually gets you out of it as well.
Yeah, and it is. It's small little things that you do. It's not the big changes. It's not, you know, the big improvements. For me, it's like the small little adjustments, like the little tweaks that you can bring to your life. And, you know, if I can impact on people in a positive way, make them think, maybe make them say yes to things that otherwise they'd say no to, well then, you know, it's worth all the sleepless nights and all the tears and everything that's been thrown into it. Because that's it, you know, for me, that's my dad always said, if you're going to do something, you know, do it well. And hopefully I have made him and my brother proud. So, yeah.
Look, we can't say fairer than that. Anna's book, Game Plan, is out now. Anna will be in conversation with Carl Henry in Dubray, Cork, Saturday the 23rd of March, followed by a public sign-in at 12 noon.
Now, before you finish this, I will have to mention one small thing while I have the opportunity. Love in the Country, like you mentioned earlier on,
yes,
is casting for Series 2.
Okay.
So,
and you're looking,
people in the audience, perhaps?
There you go.
Or people at home. Look,
and you're looking for mature men.
Mature men. Yeah, men and women, particularly the men. Yeah. Particularly the men. So yeah, exactly. We would love a whole host of people for this season. So yeah, look, I've said it out there now. So maybe that's your thing for 2024.
Okay. So look, what we'll do is we'll put that out there. We'll get them back, and then you have to come back with them, and we'll talk about the new series next time round.
Sounds like a plan.
Lovely to have you on. Give it up one more time for Anna Geary.